you doing? I'm CK with Anion Extraction Systems, and today we're going to be showing you our 100-pound stainless steel jacketed pressure vessel. Now this is an ASME U-stamped pressure vessel. With ASME there's two different certifications, there's U and UM. U is more restrictive. U stamp means that every single vessel is inspected by an ASME certified inspector independent from the actual facility that's building it. So every one of these vessels is meticulously gone through. We take that time and that extra presence on there and the extra cost just to make sure that these are top of the line, they're 100% safe, and they're certified to go in all of the extraction rooms. Now this one here is 100% stainless steel. It makes it nice because it's actually cleanable. It's got, as you can see, a high-grade polish on it, the same polish on the inside. Now as you can see here, this is actually a sanitary grade polish that's on the inside of this. This comes standard with every one of these vessels. Now the reason that that's important is so you can actually get in there to clean it out. Our pressure vessel here has a 6-inch hole on the top with a lid that you can actually pull off to get inside and clean it. Now with the DOT cylinders offered with most of the other systems out there, not only can you not clean them, but even worse, they're actually made of steel, which has a light coating of oil on the inside to keep it from rusting from the inside out. Despite how hard you try and how many times you distill it, running it through dry, you're still going to end up with some trace amounts of what we call the mystery oil that's in there. It's not a mystery where it comes from, it's part of the manufacturing process of the DOT cylinders themselves. Over time it will get less and less, but it would be much better if you just didn't have it in there at all. That's why DOT cylinders are predominantly considered disposable and you just throw them away after a number of months or years with them. The stainless steel one is not disposable. It doesn't need to be recertified or anything like that. So in addition to being able to clean it, we actually have a sight glass on it as well. This does two things. One, we can actually monitor the liquid level in there visually and see what's going on with it. Two, if we do start getting some contamination or debris in there, it alerts us, we can see that, go in and start cleaning it out. In addition to that, it comes of course with a pressure gauge, the safety relief valve, and then we've added some extra valves on here, or some extra ports on here. So this port here on the top center is going to be for our dip tube, which pulls the liquid from the bottom. This is our return port here, and then we actually have an extra port over here. Now that's for the guys doing nitrogen assist. Once we get this thing sub-zero temperatures and really, really cold, the pressure on this starts to drop. Well, if the pressure drops too much, it's hard to get the solvent out of here and into the system. So we can actually pressurize this port here and use that to aid in boosting it out of the system. Once we're done with the nitrogen is lighter than the actual solvent itself, so the solvent will be at the bottom, the nitrogen top. We can then open this valve back up, bleed off the head pressure that's in the vessel here, gets rid of the nitrogen back out of it, and then we close the valve back. Now we've charged the system, and then when we recover off of it, it's still got our low pressures in there. Now, as I said, this system is jacketed. So this whole section right here has got an external layer on top of the actual pressure vessel itself. This is for use with a lab chiller. So instead of using big buckets of ice or dry ice that you have to stick your pressure vessel into and soaking it that way, we actually hook a lab chiller to it. One, you don't have as near big of a mess, you're not having to constantly refill it with ice and drain the water off of it, and you're not having to supply it with ice. You simply attach this to your lab chiller, it runs the circulated lab cooling through it, and now the entire outside of this thing becomes a big refrigerated surface that helps cool it down. This does one of two things. It drops the pressures inside, so when we're recovering, we can recover faster because we're not fighting against pressures to put the solvent back in here. The other thing it does is we can obtain sub-zero temperatures on our solvent before it goes into the process. Now, of course, we know the colder the solvent is before it goes in, the much better of a job it's going to do for taking the extract off the product, but not taking so much of the unwanted stuff like the waxes and fatty acids and chlorophyll and stuff like that. So by chilling it, we have a twofold effect. We have faster recovery, plus we're introducing a much better product. So we run it through the port here and out the port on the other side. This allows this whole thing here to cool. In addition to the external jacket for cooling, it actually has an internal cooling coil. So the jacket's going to cool it from the outside in, and the internal cooling coil is going to cool it from the inside out. So we're attacking the cooling process from two different angles. This way we're trying to make sure that the entire pressure vessel and all of the solvent that stays inside of it is nice and cold. So as you can see, these two extra ports here, that's going to run the same circulating chiller that's going to run down and cool this entire coil. And then of course right here in the middle is our pickup tube that we're going to be feeding off the bottom to get the liquid out of the bottom of the pressure vessel. Now in addition to that, we tried to make this easy to move as well. In fact, we were the first ones to come to market with castor wheels built onto the side of it. Many of the other companies are starting to copy us now, and that's okay because imagery is the best form of flattery. However, in order to move it, you simply tip it up on its side and then you can drive it around. This suddenly makes a 100-pound pressure vessel very, very easy to move. So a lot of the jurisdictions were going to require that the pressure vessel actually be moved outside for doing the transfilling purposes. What we found was a lot of the pressure vessels were not very easy to move, so a lot of the extraction artists weren't taking the time to take it outside. Instead, they were illegally bringing the fill tank inside. This is something that simplifies it, makes it much easier for you to actually comply, and as well as if you need to move it around because you're doing cleaning in your lab or anything like that, again, you just tip it and then you can drive this thing wherever you need to. It acts very much like it being on a dolly. Once you put it down into its base position, it's solid, the wheels aren't touching the ground, and it's stationary and good to go. So as you can see, we have incorporated just about every feature we could possibly dream up, even just into the pressure vessel alone. From sight glasses to making it easy to move, to nitrogen assist, to cooling externally and internally, we tried to encompass it all. We want this to be the most user-friendly, complete system available on the market. And we want it to be something that we offer that nobody else does. This is literally the Cadillac of systems, because everything that we could possibly think of and the feedback we've got from you as the client and the customer, we've tried to incorporate into this system. It is all inclusive. So each one of our Trifecta systems actually comes with this standard. It's not an optional upgrade, it's what it comes with it every time.